Welcome to Two Guys, Two Questions, a chaotic, unscripted podcast.
Yeah, surprise questions with no prep.
I'm Ryan Keaton, a real estate guy who's happiest with an ocean view.
And I'm Jarrod Greer, a retro toy fanatic / loather who may or may not have a Batman cape within arm's reach right now.
You definitely do.
You don't know that.
From alligators to vibrators, superheroes to existential crisis, we cover it all.
Plus, every month we'll bring in a mystery guest and try to keep things extra unpredictable.
So if you like spontaneous conversations, French bulldogs stealing the show, and two guys who think they're funnier than they probably are, then you're in the right place.
Yep. Well, enough of this. Let's do this. Two Guys, Two Questions starts now. Hey, what's up?
Not much, man. I was thinking on my drive here, because, we went through, I think we know what my answer would be to this question, but one of the things I wasn't for sure, do you have a hill that you would die on that you might know is kind of ridiculous? Like for me, obviously, it's cash. I think it's the most useless fucking thing ever at this point in life, but do you have a hill you die on that you are pretty passionate about?
Man, I don't know. There's probably a lot of little stupid petty hills I'd die on. I mean, I'm
how you doing, by the way? That
good.
hit me on the way here.
That's
just
great.
like I was curious if you did. It's not my question, but I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's probably 1,000 little hills I'd die on.
What are those little hills, though? That's what I'm saying. Inquiring minds want to know what.
I think
we talked about the drive-through.
Yeah, that's the one I was just thinking of. I've obviously when you got here today, I think you delivered my DoorDash or something.
Yeah, I got it.
I guess you and the DoorDash guy pulled in at the same time.
Pineapple on pizza, it's.
I actually like pineapple on pizza. Is a hot dog a sandwich, Ryan?
I think it's a bread. It's a piece of meat in between two buns.
All the time for this podcast, I'm like Googling what's a good question or whatever. And ultimately, none of the questions I see on Google are where the fuck. But they're always like, is a hot dog a sandwich or is pineapple good on pizza? By the way, I like pineapple on pizza. A hot dog is a sandwich. But hot dogs should only, I hate this for anybody out there in the world, but this is a hill I will die on.
So we got there.
Yeah. The Chicago.
I can feel your blood pressure going up.
Hot dogs should come from Eastern Kentucky or West Virginia, and hot dog sauce is a real thing. Although if you go outside of, I'm going to say 100 miles from Ashland, Kentucky, you can't. They look like you have two heads when you ask for hot dog with sauce. Chicago hot dogs suck balls.
Really, you don't like the peppers and onions the sausage?
Nope. Sauce and slaw for me.
So
I grew up on crisp dairy treat. Like my mom and dad were divorced when I was a kid, and my dad would pick me up in Grayson. And
that was his home cooked meal.
It was on the way to my dad's house. We'd stop at Crisp and get a hot dog. So this is very familiar to me. Crisp dairy treat, cheap plug for them. By the way, they've been there for like 900 fucking years. My
great
opinion,
desserts too.
No better hot dog or ice cream in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a hill I'd die on. Hot dogs. Yeah, Eastern Kentucky. Sorry, Arby's also good when you DoorDash it. Man, I can't think of any other major hills, but there are 1,000. I'll probably come up with a lot of them during the course of this podcast.
Drop those in, and just put your little thing, hit your little ding.
Yeah, ding. I'll hit the harp for a hill I would die on. I don't know. I'm a very weird human. There's a whole lot of things that are normal adult human behavior that I will not do, or that I will gladly pay other people to do. And then there's a whole lot of things I will try to tackle for no good fucking reason whatsoever. Like on this building, I'm probably going to end up doing a whole bunch of the reno on that thing, even though I know nothing about how to renovate a building. But my checking account says, Jarrod, you should do some of this fucking work.
I completely agree because, it's probably been 7 years or so ago now. At this point, we bought this little building for Dixie for a hair salon.
Yeah.
And I had somebody come in and do the major stuff like you did, right? Got the electric, all the things that, needed specialty, but there was flooring that needed to be laid. And I tell people this all the time whenever I was showing my property. It was like the little vinyl plank flooring. And they're like, I don't know if I can do it. And I was like, let me tell you, I know who I am. I know my skill set.
And you pulled it off.
I pulled it off, which means anybody else in this world could lay that flooring if they wanted to.
I get that. And normally speaking, the hill I would die on is probably do what you do well and pay other people to do what they do well.
Yeah.
But every now and then, we were talking earlier, the girl Katrina that manages the money flow, the flow of cash in and out of my business most of the time. She's on vacation this week, so I had the opportunity to log in and look at my checking account after buying a building and a collection and another store and lots of things over the last 4 weeks. And I got the sticker shock of my life logging into my checking account this week going, holy shit, we got to do some of this stuff ourselves probably. And hopefully it's just, a couple months of recovering and then we'll be in a better place. But I don't know, man. Buying a building, like I said, I think I told you this last time, I feel like I'm in Tom Hanks' The Money Pit. But everything's pretty good for the most part. What's anything exciting happened your week?
Oh, this week's been pretty busy in a good way. I've once again saw a lot of Eastern Kentucky, so I've had several times driving in rural areas and getting to show some good properties and things out there. So business market's pretty much hopping at this point. So
it's been beautiful weather to be out driving around Eastern Kentucky. That's a hill I'll die on. Kentucky is the best fucking state. I know I like to travel. I like to go other places, but I always want to come back here. I don't know. Do you? I
don't share that.
You don't share that? You don't like it here? I mean, there are a million things fucked up about Eastern Kentucky, okay? But it's still home to me, and I can't think of I think of all kinds of places I want to visit, but I don't know if there's any place else I want to live.
It's definitely beautiful, especially when you're out in some of these rural areas. It's pretty amazing. People for the most part are really, really nice, but there's just some of the things that you hear and some of the things that people say, I'm just baffled.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure, some of that can be to some degree anywhere you're at, but
did you see
but I mean, as far as being beautiful and like I said, 95% of the people that you meet are just freaking amazing, and they're good humans.
Did you see the TikTok that Andy Bashir made last week, right before the Derby, saying, in Kentucky we say y'all and all these Kentuckyisms, I guess. But anyway, the last one was, and if we say bless your heart, that's not a good thing. Yeah. So.
Dumbass.
Yeah. That's the subtext of bless your heart, you fucking dumbass.
But good thing for the listeners though, they can take that and run that. Anytime they want to say, you're a fucking idiot, just say, well, bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart. Yeah, I'm trying to think if anything else exciting has happened this week. Man, it's been a pretty uneventful week for me. I feel like, so right out of college, I didn't finish college. As you know, my college career was taking $80,000 out my parents' driveway and setting it on fire. But right out of college, I did the union labor thing for a little while, and I have felt like I'm back in that world because I've been pushing a broom and shoveling shit out of a building for the last couple of weeks. And that's just where my life has been. I haven't done nothing exciting. Katrina's on vacation, so I've not really been trying to conduct very much business. It is what it is. Have you got a good question this week, or have you got a bullshit question that didn't make the cut? Well,
like I said, I had I was curious to see what hills you would die on, but
yeah, like I said, there's about a million.
It is surprising though. So
what's the best milkshake, by the way? Because I have one in front of me.
I'm probably always going to go something chocolatey for the most part. I like the chocolate and I don't tend to do a lot of milkshakes. I'm more of I like the Blizzard.
You're not one of those fruit freezy kind of guys, are you?
Yeah. I mean,
you're like a mango smoothie kind of guy.
I love smoothies.
Yeah. Fuck no.
Smoothies. I'm going to call back something because this has crossed my mind multiple times,
okay,
it has. Every single time I do it, I laugh, and I'm like, okay, I got to bring this back up to Jarrod again because and I just keep forgetting to do it. But I've told 2 or 3 people because I'm like, all right, am I the only one that thinks this is like funny but ridiculous and like almost weird? No. So it's been consistent.
Okay.
And the question that you asked me whenever we were talking about vampires.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the fuck it has to do with anything. But you said, how hungry do you have to be before you eat a dude? And every time I swear to God, I want that on a fucking t-shirt because I'm like, You're not homophobic.
No,
And
not
you
at
don't
all.
give two shits.
No,
but that just crossed
But
my mind.
I'm just thinking, as a vampire, you're gonna as a heterosexual vampire, you're gonna prey on women first because that's easier. You can go pick up a girl in a club or whatever. You polish that skill. How hungry do you have to be to try to tackle a dude in an alley and fucking drink his blood?
I don't know why, but that response just cracks me the fuck up. Because I don't get what now that I understand your angle a little bit of thinking, okay, I got to overpower them.
Well,
but
it's not just that. It's not just that. I mean, you're right. I'm completely secure in my manhood or whatever. I'm not homophobic at all. But I'm still going to prey on women.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just what I saw an interview with a vampire a few times. So it's actually, I guess, I'm not sure that was how that worked in that movie. I think Anne Rice might have did something different there, really.
I'm sure, yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, you can proceed. I
can proceed.
That is made me laugh multiple times because I don't know what the fuck it has to do with anything, but now I know. And now I still don't know, but it's still funny.
Okay, fair enough. So, okay, I got a question for you. This is this is the legit question, and this is kind of deep shit, but maybe not. I don't know. You might have a real quick answer for this. This same logic can be applied to anything, but in the universe, is there someone for everyone? And I'm speaking relationship-wise. Is there someone for everyone? Were you cosmically supposed to be where you are now with Dixie, or can you meet any random girl on the street and through a series or through hard work make a relationship work with anyone?
I don't believe in the
and
fake.
Like I said, it can get very broad. You can apply the same thing to anything, but
no, I'm not big on. I don't know that I think that the definition of what people will call a soulmate, I buy into. Like, in other words, I don't think that there's somebody out there, and until you meet that person, you're never going to have your person. I think that relationships take work, and you have to put effort. But I also think that I do think there's types of people that are going to make that journey easier.
Yeah,
versus
so you're saying
people.
There's a pool of people you could pull from, and as long as you're shopping in there, as long as you're swimming in the right pool, you should find somebody you can make it work with or whatever.
Yeah, because I think that any relationship you're going to have is going to take work. Even if you're with your soulmate, it is not always peaches and cream and everything they do is fantastic. But I think if you're with somebody that stuff becomes easier, I think there are people that you're like, okay, and then there's things that don't bother you as much, and I think growing up, especially as males, we
100%.
tend to be kids until we're probably just now coming out of adolescence ourselves.
And you're married twice, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So I guess, there was probably a length of time for me when I really thought, I was married for 20 years.
Yeah.
Shout out to my ex-wife for tolerating me for 20 years. But, there was a time when
she's a good woman.
Yeah.
She's a fantastic woman.
None better. Tolerated all my bullshit for a long time. So there was a time when I definitely thought that Jamie was my person in the world or whatever. And, we've been divorced going on 3 years now, and we've both done our own thing or whatever. And I still consider Jamie to be one of my best friends in the world. But I don't know. I don't think anymore that I subscribe to you're supposed to have a person or whatever. I'm at the point now where I think with given the right amount of work and that you can adapt a situation to your own means or whatever, to your own will. And the same can be said about anything, I guess. You said you don't subscribe to fate or cosmic want or whatever, that the universe doesn't have a plan for you or whatever.
I'm not.
You're making your own fucking destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think you have free will in every single decision to make what you want, and I just feel like if you want to put in the effort, you want to put in the work, I feel like that anybody can. I mean, that's the whole premise of what the United States, and granted, it's evolved to where it's much more difficult, but I feel like great stories are riddled with people that had the shittiest of upbringings, were poor as could be, and just got out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's just as many stories of people that didn't, but I'm just saying, I think that, you have the opportunity to be able to get out of your situation. And so in that same respect, like I said, I feel like that, I don't know that if I'd have met Dixie, whatever, at the point that, I got married, goes, hell, I haven't been married in 20 some years, but 25 years, whatever it is. But I don't know that she would have got the version of me that has made us work.
Right. So you were married twice very young, correctly?
I was married the first time whenever I was like 21.
We were in college, yeah.
And about 21 and 24, I think, was the two ages that I got married.
Yeah. So first one, you were just dumb.
Dumb. We were
dumb and in love.
Married and divorced within less than a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're still...
And Angie and I were married for, almost 8 years.
And you're still on good terms with both of them, right?
Oh, yeah. I get along with both of them, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking a lot about that. So, you said something, though, that just hit me a little bit, because I'm going to say, I consider myself, we don't delve too deep into politics here, but I consider myself sort of a lefty. You know, I'm
same,
maybe fiscally conservative, socially liberal kind of thing.
I would say that's probably more where I'm at. I'm incredibly socially liberal.
Yeah, yeah. So you said you believe that, anybody has the power to change their situation or whatever. And I pretty much subscribe to that, partly because I say a lot. I've been on top of the world and I've been under it, and I'm probably going to be both places again sometime in my life. Yeah. I hope to be some places. That's when you're doing something. But I see so many, especially younger people, that say they're systemically held down by the world or whatever, the man keeping me down or whatever. And I don't know. I don't get into that. I think that's pretty much a lefty mentality, but that's not one I think that I subscribe to too much.
I think that systemically there, in my opinion, 100% things put in place to hold groups,
I do believe
down.
that, but I also believe that
you can still. I think you could still. It's one of the unique things probably about the United States is you can still overcome the government fucking you to some degree.
That's probably true. A girl that works for me one time told me that she had heard me tell my pull yourself up by your bootstraps story a few times, and she said, not everybody has fucking bootstraps. And I don't know if I subscribe to that, but either way, I definitely see that the universe does have a way of kicking some bitches when they're down.
Well, and I think there's a lot of apathy, right? That they see somebody that's successful and they think, well, okay, they just knew the right thing. They fell into the right, I could venture to say, I mean, our stories could, from the beginnings that we've had, our stories could have went very differently.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And some of the stupid ass mistakes that somehow didn't crush our life. There's that, but I don't think that. I think people are wired different.
That's very true.
That your bootstraps, you're like, oh fuck, I guess this is where I'm at. Let's figure out a way to get out of it. And that's the way I am too.
I think I operate way better from a spot of being hungry than I do. I think I definitely, when things are going really well, I think I get lazy and complacent. And when I think it was a good thing for me to log into my checking account and then look at it this week. So I think, well, fuck, okay, I better do something. Anyway, that's I guess that beats that question to fucking death. So there is no grand plan for you to meet your loved one or get rich or die trying.
I don't believe that there's a grand plan out there. I think I got to make whatever that plan is going to be, because.
All right, deep as fuck. We haven't had this discussion ever, I don't think. Where are you at? I don't even know if you want to get into this on this. Where you at on the whole church thing? Is there an organized religion out there that you fit yourself into? I don't know if we've ever talked about this, really.
Yeah, no. I have went to just about every type of church that is out there.
Yeah,
At different points in my life, I've been pretty involved in church. I mean, hell, from kid having to go to do the Pentecostal thing and, seeing the speaking in tongues, that kind of stuff. There was a period of time to where I was going to like one of the rock and roll churches that I enjoyed. I like that kind of atmosphere, but I struggle mightily with this question. So I don't believe in organized religion because to me, they're all the same. They just have their offshoots and they call it something different, but yet people are freaking killed because, you call yours this and I call mine that. So that kind of stuff bothers me. Do I think that there's potentially a higher being? That's probably what I just subscribe more to than anything. But I would say if there's a religion that I probably buy into more than others is probably I like the Buddhist concept of, and I don't know a lot about Buddhism, so I'm going off the simple and basic as it is of just
the
like
sixth grade
version, which is if you treat
civilization.
people and you want to try to live a good life, try to be a good person, you try to treat other people. And granted, everybody else has those kind of things, but if you get into the Christianity and all that kind of stuff, well, then now it becomes with a caveat. And it's like, oh, well, I interpret the Bible this way, or, oh, you can't be gay. Well, yeah, you can. Then you have this person saying this. And
I'm kind of I guess what I'd call that it's all positive paths. I guess I've seen that. If you're doing what you believe to be the right thing by your neighbor and the other asshole down the street or the people that work for you or work around you or whatever, if you're doing your best to do right by everybody in your life, then, you're getting back what you're putting in, kind of, I guess.
But I think, you could look at the Pope that just passed away.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the biggest controversies that he did, period, was the fact that he was like, it's not for me to judge if someone's gay or not, God. And now he was the most controversial Pope ever in the history because he didn't want to judge.
Well, I don't know if you've seen this. I might tell you this live on this podcast here, but did you see we got a new Pope about 3 or 4 hours ago?
I didn't get a chance to read anything just saw that the smoke had come.
He's an American. It's the first American Pope. He's from Chicago. He's a Cubs fan. Nice. So we have an American Pope.
Now, one of the things I did see, the only thing that I did see, and then I'll let you finish and tell me what, if you've got some more info, but one of the things I did see was that he was very, very critical of Trump and Vance because of the refugees.
Yeah. I can't speak on Catholicism, I guess. Is that the word? Yeah, that's it. I said that right?
Yeah,
Did I?
That was...
Holy shit. Wow. On them Catholics. Do you remember Tanya that we went to? Tanya took me to a Catholic wedding one time. I grew up and going to church with my grandmother here, just a Christian church or whatever. Anyway, Tanya took me to a Catholic wedding, and the thing I did not understand about a Catholic wedding is there's audience participation in there. You stand up, you sit down, you stand up, you sit down, you say this thing, you say that thing, you set up, whatever. And it fucked me up bad. I mean, I was 21 years old going, what the fuck have you drawn me, taken me to?
Have you ever been to a Catholic burial?
No.
Did you not know Frank? Eric Harris, the one that died on the plane crash.
Oh, no.
So, real good friends with him. I mean, probably was hanging out with him 2 days before that happened. Yeah. So, but his was, you want to talk about a wild experience. It was the same thing. So, they're coming down with the smoke. You're standing up. The wake, so the night before and the after was at a bar.
Perfect.
Doing shots with the priest just delivered the service.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, it was the same thing. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So you take a little boy that got drugged to church with his grandma all the time, and you put him in a religion he didn't know anything about. He freaks out. So anyway,
that's not what my God does.
Yeah. What the fuck? Anyway, I in my group chat the other day. Gosh, I don't even know if I should say it. But anyway, Jackson professed that he had switched to the Catholic Church.
Really?
And so anyway, I thought it's odd. He's probably the only person I know that's like converted or whatever. But for me personally, I don't think I need the threat of hell and damnation to try to be a good person.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that some people do. And I fully understand that if having faith in whatever you need to have faith in gets you through your day, then pour it on it, brother.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest problem with organized religion is to believe in any organized religion, you have to believe that the other 60% of the world is wrong.
And that's my biggest problem. Is because I have a real big problem. So let's say we live in the world to where we're, whatever, devout Baptist.
Yeah.
And you have a Muslim on the other side of the world that has known nothing but Muslim. That's just like your child that you're raising for Baptist. That's all they're allowed to know, know. And granted, they may learn about it when they go to college. Same way with this kid, but that's his core belief. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time wanting to be part of a religion that says you're damned.
Yeah.
Because that's what I struggle with, and I struggle with if there is a God, that's really what they would do. Yeah.
I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson say one time that he knows that there is not an all-powerful and all-good God out there because childhood cancer is a thing.
Yeah.
So if you're all good, if your God is all good, he must not be all-powerful. If he's all-powerful, he must not be all good.
Yeah.
Because kids can die from cancer. So that's made me think about that some. I mean, like I said, I grew up, grandmother, if you'd ever hear this, then I surely have went to church with you 1,000 times, and I don't regret that in my life. I probably learned a lot in church as a kid. So
that's what I said. I mean, I don't think it's all bad. I think it's whenever it gets into chastising other people.
Yeah.
I think the theories about what you should do as a human, why you should try to be right, all that, that's all good stuff.
I think it's just human nature, though, to want to put yourself or your group around you
But that's the exact opposite of what religion is.
I understand it. I understand.
Sorry, I got a little back in the board.
But it's human nature to want to say, hey, our little group is right. All them fucking people in Jonestown in 75 thought they were fucking right.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
But it's interesting. But you were into, before, until the last little bit, where you've been thinking about it?
I mean, at some point in my life, you can't be married for 20 years to the same woman and not believe that you guys were made to be together or whatever. I guess, although it's at some point I had to start doubting that, or I wouldn't be divorced today.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So my question is, if you could have a budget to make a documentary on anything in this world that you'd want it to be, and the caveat is it has to be something that you will truly want to stay invested in, because we know your short-term excitement for stuff. You want to build it and throw it away. But
damn,
what would be something that would make you really want to kind of stick in there and go all the way through, where you'd be excited about the editing process, you'd be excited about potentially being in the research?
Nothing. There's a million things I'd probably do the research on. I love to research.
Well, I mean, you don't have to learn the skill set about being part of the editing. I'm saying you want to see, okay, how's this coming together? So you're actually involved. You're not just like, okay, I'm going to
thing I say a lot that pisses some people off is I don't care about the labor pains, just show me the baby. And I wouldn't even want to be part of the edit or whatever. I would want to watch it when you get the cut done, and I'd want to make 32 comments throughout the thing while I'm watching it, and then you to make the second cut, and that'd be what I want.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you don't have to go in and stitch and learn a program. No,
But man, a topic
that's just going to have you fully engaged and go, okay, this is cool.
I mean, it
could be any type. It doesn't have to be a research. It could be it could be about a snake.
I started saying it's either going to be about the history of the reptile business or the history of the comic book business. Those are the two things that I'm actually probably wound up in as far as personally. I love the reptile business is in a real weird spot right now. The human outlook on pet ownership has changed a lot since I was 18 years old. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I was running around out in the hills and the creeks and collecting snakes and pulling snakes out from under rocks and taking them and selling them for the first $15 somebody'd give me or whatever. And that's just how I got started. And we were importing animals from all over the world, and most of those animals were wild collected and all that sort of thing. And I would sell you anything. It was a means to make money for me, something I enjoyed. I enjoyed out looking for the critters, but it was just all about the money or whatever. As I've got older, I've turned into a softie about animals as a whole. And also public perception of that sort of thing are not the same as they used to be. The industry is now all wrapped up in captive breeding. We don't want to sell wild-caught animals. Everything has to be produced in captivity. And now we're at the point of, back in the 90s, leopard geckos were a thing. And it was common knowledge that the way you bred leopard geckos at scale was you kept 6 females and a male in a drawer, in a rack system kind of thing, in the equivalent of a 15-gallon tank or something. Now, if you read any forum on the internet, they'll tell you a leopard gecko has to be in a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosure and needs all these things for enrichment. And that's just the generational difference in how we view pet ownership, I think.
Yeah.
And
do you have a feeling on which is better?
I see both sides. I come up in a time where in the States, we were learning how to produce all these animals. So I come up in a time when in the U.S. we were trying to figure out how to captive breed all these animals. And then, of course, once we figured it out, it becomes how do you breed them at scale? How do you turn them into an operation that you can actually make money with? So there was all these things designed throughout the 90s and the early 2000s of rack systems and ways to make a few thousand baby snakes a year or whatever. And that was completely normal for me. And I came up in a time when we always thought that the snakes were more comfortable. They live under fucking rocks. Okay. So they're most comfortable in a dark drawer without a lot going. They don't need a fucking plastic merry-go-round to crawl around on and super bright lights and all this bullshit. These animals make their living hiding from you. They don't want to be seen all the time. But I get it. I do. The trend now over the last 10 years has been to keep less animals in more robust situations and actually get to see how they interact with their surroundings and things like that. I don't really have a sense for which is better. For me, much like comic books, okay, with comic books, I just want to find shit and buy it and go, ooh, I rescued that or whatever. With snakes, I don't like keeping snakes. I like watching snake eggs hatch.
Yeah.
The rest of it is a means to an end for me. I have to keep adult snakes all year long. I have to cool them in the winter, let them think it's spring, breed, get eggs, incubate eggs, all for the 1 hour payoff of watching those eggs hatch and little baby snakes popping out of the eggs and going, oh, that one's cool.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Which is better? Man, I don't know. I'm still very much, I came up in the time where you got to keep stuff at scale or whatever. So everything I have is in racks, and I'm completely comfortable with that. My son doesn't like it at all.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm just a shitty person, I think, because my snakes don't have daily enrichment or whatever.
Yeah. Like a forest to be able to roam in.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Because, to me, I get it. Because like you said, it was like when you're coming up, it was all about scale. So, we got to come up with 10 racks and then put one in there. And that's all you're doing, buddy, is breeding just so you can make more money. Yeah, and which I get it.
Today, it's the puppy mill mentality. Are you puppy milling snakes, or whatever? And I get that. I do.
Do you have a problem with a puppy mill?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's the difference between
I don't know. It's always, I saw a billboard
Jarrod's
one time.
Gecko Rack.
Yeah. I saw a billboard one time that was put out by like PETA or somebody that was like all these animals, and it's like a dog, a cat, a horse, a cow, a chicken, and it was like some of these things are edible. Where do you draw the line? It's perfectly acceptable for us to eat cows here, but we won't eat a horse.
Yeah.
It's the same with everything. I don't. Yeah, and when I was 19 years old, I wouldn't give a fuck about puppy mill dogs. I mean, I came up in the pet industry. I worked in pet stores some of my first jobs were pet stores, and it was just a thing. We ordered dogs. They came in on a fucking truck, and we sold them to people. And it was just what we did. And I tell people today around shows and stuff, people will talk, because I've become one of the old guys at the reptile shows. But so I tell people a lot of times, we do things right now. My tree is nice and bushy, but my roots are in the fucking sewer,
Yeah.
It is what it is. All these animals that are in the pet trade now are in the pet trade because some asshole like me imported a shitload of them in the 90s, put the work in to figure out how to get them to live and breed in captivity. And I hate it, but in the process, probably killed a bunch of them trying to figure it out. Like, how do you make a light bulb, or how do you not make a light bulb? But my neighbor, I actually have two neighbors that breed puppies and sell them a lot. And one of my neighbors, her dogs have the utmost care. Everyone is a member of their family. They're making puppies. My other neighbor, who I also love, breeds dogs to sell, and most of their dogs are in kennels and things. And I don't know why, but me at almost 50 years old, that bothers me.
Yeah.
I think it's because my dogs are like my kids, you know.
Yeah.
And through my divorce, Franklin literally saved my fucking life through my divorce. I mean, he was the
one there right with you.
He was the one that was there with me saying we're going to get through another day.
Yeah.
So past that, it bothers me to see a dog in a cage ever. And I don't know why the mentality is different with snakes and reptiles and things, but it is for me. It's just where I'm at, I guess.
Which is interesting.
But back to your question though, it would either be about the coming of age of the reptile hobby or trade as it is. It's an industry, really. I mean, there are people making millions of dollars keeping them breeding reptiles. I've never been lucky enough to be one of those people, but or it'd just be about chasing comic books. That's probably all I'd make a documentary on. I'm not smart enough about anything else, Ryan.
Well, that's kind of the purpose of a documentary, though, right?
I guess,
to learn about that.
But also, though, who's making a documentary about something they know nothing about? Well, that they don't already have a deep interest in.
Now, that's where I think that's where I see the distinction and the difference is that they may know a decent amount or think they know a decent amount about it, and they're passionate about it, and they think it's interesting. So then that's why you do the documentary. And then throughout the documentary, if you're doing it right, you're like, you're learning. I've learned something.
The problem with me is if I had any interest in it at all, I would have already tried to make a business out of it. You know, it's just I can't. I don't know.
So many times that we've come in here, we've done this on air, off air, whatever. A lot of times we are like, well, what's next? You know, what's kind of on the horizon, or what kind of things do you think about? And I just feel like that is, to me, this was something that.
So you want to make a documentary? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean,
I'd
love to do a documentary.
What's yours about? What's yours about? We didn't get there.
Yeah, we didn't get there because I love documentaries.
Oh, I do too. I watch them all the time.
Yeah, I do.
Serial killers as well. For me, usually.
Yeah, and so I'll watch a documentary about dang near anything. I've watched every toy documentary I can find and things of that nature. So to me, whenever I was trying to figure out, because I was like, oh, this will come back to me. I didn't land on anything 100% that I think I would do. It's just, I love the concept of researching. I love the idea of, I'm like you, I don't want to be the one that's sitting in there and stitching all this stuff. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what's entertaining and what's interesting. So I feel like that I can make points and things of that nature. And like I said, our podcast, every single time that it's sent off to edit, I listen to it before it goes, I listen to it after it goes, and then I send them comments about it. And then like, oh, now it's live, I'll listen to it there as well. Yeah. So
the difference is I haven't listened to one.
I know you haven't.
I haven't listened to one yet.
Yeah.
I hope that one day, 15 years from now, you message me and say, "Hey, we just hit 1 million subscribers." Or something, you know,
you're like, cool.
I want it to be completely.
Now,
if it becomes successful, I want it to be completely by surprise for me.
Yeah. So now, to that end, the reason that I'm listening to that is because I want to get better. I know both of us, we don't have an agenda whenever we're doing this, but we also want to be somewhat interesting. But we're also just coming in here to shoot the shit, and maybe people find it interesting. So I'm just listening to kind of get some sense of like, okay, well, this kind of stuff lags, or this isn't quite as interesting. Right. So, or, how did we miss a book falling, with a big loud noise, stuff that would aggravate other people, but not to like where I want to create the content or anything like that. It's just,
well, this episode has definitely been a callback to the dog problem.
Yeah.
Where's
the squeaky toy?
It's been like 6 or 7 episodes, or maybe even 8, since we've had a dog problem. And look, Franklin is now being just good as gold sitting here.
Franklin's good. And usually I think what the listeners don't know is you are baby dog sitting, or dog sitting. And I think it's just they got a new friend here, so it's a little Franklin though. I think he's just like he just wants to be part of the thing.
Yeah, he just wants to be in a chair beside me. Is all he wants out of life.
Because JR, the couple times he would just sit there and chill with me. So I think it's just having somebody new in here with him.
Yeah. One of these days, just talking about the reptile industry and stuff. One of these days, you'll hit the right question. And I'll tell you some really good fucking reptile-based stories. There's man, it was such a weird fucking time coming up through that.
But one of the things that I did think that I thought would be cool, just to answer your question a little bit, that at least popped in my head was that I would like to, or I think it would be interesting to do a documentary on the ecotourism industry and how that's evolved in certain nations and things that they've done and what kind of effects that has been, because it's still a new thing, but it's got 10, maybe 15 years or so or something like that, I would think.
I went to Guyana the first time in 2007 maybe or something, and ecotourism was definitely a thing there, but it wasn't a thing in Guyana as much. I mean, before I went, there were lots of websites that you could go on and get guided tours of all these places and stay in a jungle hut or whatever, But when we went to Guyana the first time, we literally, there was somebody in the village we stayed at that was out of town, and they let us crash in his house, Yeah. And then when we went back the second time, they had much more infrastructure set up, and I actually preferred it the first way better. It seemed too, I don't know, contrived the second time around or whatever. The first time we went, I had a blast, and the second time I couldn't make myself have fun.
Yeah. But I think it'd be interesting, and like I said, I'm sure there's been some version of ecotourism going back 100 years, but I mean, as far as it being somewhat trendy, probably more of I feel like that there's more tailoring to being reachable.
Columbus Day's coming back. He was the first eco-tourist, I think.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that an executive order? For some reason that we needed Columbus Day back.
I think we got an executive order. We got Columbus Day back.
Yeah.
Just hoping you get a day off work.
It matters not. There is no holiday.
Yeah. Do you give yourself a Columbus Day off? I don't know.
I barely take off my birthday, much less.
Oh, you take off your birthday, you fucking lazy ass.
I take no days off. I will take usually
have you
family members'
This is a good question. Have you ever got a call to go show a property, or somebody want to see a property, and they say, "Hey, I'm like looking at it. Would you come show it to me or whatever?" And you say in your mind, of course, you're not going to say this to the client, but in your mind, you say, "You know what? I'm in my underwear. Fuck this people. I'll do it tomorrow."
Oh, in my mind?
Yeah.
All the time.
But do you act on it, or do you say,
normally,
fuck, I'll be there in a minute?
Most times, if it's available, it's a vacant house and somebody wants to get into it, and it's actually sellable. Yeah. So it's not something, I'm not going to go show a property that's under contract just because they want to get in it, but for the most part, I'm going to.
You're going to put.
That's why I sell the volume that I do is I hustle.
You're going to put your pants on and
yeah. And
I
may apologize. They may not get because typical, I'm in a business casual pretty much all the time. The other day, somebody called me. Matter of fact, this just happened like 2-3 days ago, and they called me, and it was late, about to the point I'd already shut it down for the night as far as going out and showing property. Schedule was done. Somebody called. They wanted something, and I was like, well, just fair warning, you're going to get the sports joggers or whatever, and they're like, they didn't care,
Yeah.
But I think that people remember that whenever you're, not most people probably have no clue what those kind of things happen, but occasionally it does. And like I said, I find that most times people are pretty appreciative.
I think I've probably even told this story on this podcast already, but the thing that I remember most about you as a realtor is I called you one time and said, "Hey, I'm sitting in front of this Chinese restaurant that has a for sale sign in it." And you said, "I'll be there in 5 minutes," or some shit like that, and it was like, oh, okay. So you dropped whatever the fuck you were doing and come and showed me a fucking Chinese
I think I asked
restaurant.
you one question.
Maybe.
I asked you, are you serious?
Oh,
are you seriously interested? And you're like, yeah, I think it might be. Okay, cool.
can't remember what.
Because the other thing is, I would go show.
Oh, there's a car wash there now.
Yeah,
I can't remember what happened with that property.
Touchless car wash.
Yeah, that property ended up being in the floodplain, and they had to build it up. If you remember,
yeah, they had to do all kinds of stuff down at the bottom of that.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that was probably pretty early on for you, really.
That was within probably the first couple months of me getting my license.
Yeah, I think I left there and told Jamie, I said, Ryan's going to make a good fucking realtor because he just came and did this immediately. And I looked at a house in Lexington one time, and I know you do use Zillow. You get links off Zillow, right, or leads off Zillow. I was sitting in a Burger King one time, scrolling Zillow, and hit a property and hit it and showed it to Jamie, and we were like, oh, that's cool. We were in Lexington, and I hit request a showing, or whatever the fucking button on there is, and my phone rang before I could put it down from hitting that button. Yeah. And I thought, man.
That's their whole system.
That's their
whole system. Because that's what I get is somebody just is like, oh, I like this house. Give me an agent. And then, because then they're surprised.
What's Zillow's cut on those? Or do you just pay them by the month?
You get a share of a zip code.
Okay, I get it.
Is essentially how they work.
That's what we need. We need some sort of
app or
we need some sort of app or something. I've invented 100 apps in my mind. Unfortunately, I don't know how to make apps.
Yeah, but once again, that's also really easy. You got Fiverr and all kinds of things out there.
Yeah,
actually, there are companies that are just app creation companies.
I use Fiverr and all those things. Freelancer. Actually, I usually use Freelancer for those things. Those are all great resources. Anyway, ChatGPT, you using that for shit now?
Oh yeah, I use it pretty regularly.
I want to go to Europe next month. I gave ChatGPT the fucking dates I want to go to Europe and like 3 places I wanted to go, and I prefer Hyatt hotels. And it wrote me 100 fucking pages, seems like, of things to do that fit my schedule and all this shit. And it blew my fucking mind.
Well, I tell you that
I need to get better at prompting it, but it's crazy.
So you and I laugh about this all the time, that we could talk about something. If I'm interested, boom, I'm going to have a whole little system set up. So one of the things that I thought would be a cool idea for us to do at some point is to basically do like a trip or something, record it, basically have it as additional stuff we could do on the podcast, maybe do a podcast from Costa Rica or something or whatever. But one of the things that I did was I just basically typed a little paragraph. It said, okay, we have a $25,000 budget. We're going to be doing blah, 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 whatever. Got 4 people and we want to stay in this general region, but we only have blah, blah, blah for the 30 days.
Yeah.
It spit out basically a 2-week itinerary or the whatever time frame that I gave it, and said, you're going to stay at this hotel. Here's your rate. This is when you would check in. You're going to jump on this little puddle jumper and go here. Here you're going to get on a boat, go to this island. And I mean, it was done. It was like, there you go. Here's what it's going to cost you. And that's including the flights. Yeah. We check the flights while we're at it.
Pretty soon you won't need a live-in girlfriend. You can just go argue with ChatGPT.
So it's funny that you say that, because I can't remember if it was a comedian or somebody being serious, but they were talking about pretty much that exact thing, that it is getting to the point. Oh no, I know exactly what it was. So it was Zuckerberg talking about the fact of AI, that it is essentially, his belief is that we're going to get to the point to where we won't need
human
interaction, because you can get fed whatever you want, because Facebook already does this, right? It's going to give you whatever you want, but you could integrate this with AI. And if you want to actually talk to someone, you could talk to them and they would basically just be giving you the type of reassurances that you need. Well, hang in there, buddy. You got this, you have to be at work at 8:00. It's eventually going to get to that point where you're going to have a subset of the population that would rather talk to their computer. I mean, you already see those dystopian types of movies.
For sure,
and
And
we were watching a movie last night called Companion, and they were realistic. They were real actors and actresses, but you find out If you hadn't watched the trailer, which we didn't watch the trailer, we were like, okay, it looks like it's a kind of a sci-fi kind of movie or something, but it was interesting. It's probably 10 or 15 minutes into the movie before something goes crazy. And one of the main characters looks at his little hot girlfriend, and he was like, go to sleep. And then her eyes just become white. And basically then there's some further instruction that this was his, and he hadn't even bought it. He had leased this.
So this I'm sorry, this leads me down the road. You were divorced at what age?
21 the first time and 24 probably. Or no, probably closer to 30, 31 the second time.
Okay. So from 31, when did you meet Dixie?
We've been together right at 10 years. I was probably 41 whenever we met.
So you spent 10 years, let's say, on the market.
Yeah.
Did you have an internet girlfriend at any time in those 10 years? Did you meet anybody on the internet and talk to them at length?
I'm sure I probably met some people online.
But did you ever have like
I never had like a pen pal, or I never did like I guess I was kind of in the gray area. Like, I know that a lot of times there are people talking about, it's like, oh, they were like an AOL pen pal or something like that.
Our generation was the first one. I feel like we're kind of the first group to come up with the ability to have an internet girlfriend or whatever. You know?
But I never had anybody that was like, I really felt like was the girlfriend online.
Yeah, okay. So I had let's see, I would have been maybe 21, 22 years old, somewhere in there, right before I met Jamie. I was talking to a girl online, chatting with her for hours a day, almost every day. She was out in Seattle. And at some point, I flew to Seattle to see this girl because we kind of mutually said, we need to see if this is really a thing or not.
Please, for the love of all things good and holy, tell me you were catfished.
No, I wasn't catfished. This girl was absolutely beautiful. She was. Yeah. And no issues with being catfished at all. God, I wish I was. That'd make a better story. But we had no real connection in person.
Really?
Like, just nothing. Like, I mean, we'd literally talked for hours and hours on and where I'm going with this is letters on a computer screen can fuck with your emotions and fool you.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that AI can fuck your eyeballs out.
But the problem, because I mean, I think the biggest challenge is that there's no tone.
Yeah. That's
so 100%. Everything they say,
it's what tone you want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my only internet girlfriend conversation or story, I guess. But so a year or two of talking to this girl and nothing. I don't think I've spoken to 6 words to her since I got back from Seattle. And we weren't like, it wasn't like we were upset with each other or angry with each other. It was just like
what we learned.
She was just like the girl you see at the supermarket, but you don't really have any connection to. Zero spark, zero anything in person.
That's wild.
I probably had more fun with her roommate than I did with her.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Really, really fucked up. Anyway, nice girl. Cute girl. All that. Just not me. And I wasn't her, I don't think. I wasn't for her. She wasn't for me.
That's so. Do you think it was like you said? She said she was beautiful, and typically for a male, that's good enough.
No, I mean at that point, once you talk,
that's what I say, because that point you would have been in your.
I guess what I'm saying is you already have this idea of who this person is, and then it's not exactly the person you think it is when you get there, even though
Yeah.
And like I said, no problem with not liking each other or not being mad or anything. It just wasn't what either of us thought it was, I think.
Yeah.
It's the only way I know to describe it, I guess.
But the cool thing is, at least you went and shot your shot.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, bought a plane ticket, brother.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't tell that story very often. Anyway.
Now it's going to live forever.
Yep, now it'll live forever. Everything lives on the internet. She'll probably see it. I think she's on my Facebook, maybe. I don't know.
And just like that, another episode of Two Guys, Two Questions is in the books.
We laughed, we learned. Well, we mostly just laughed.
Yeah, and if you made it this far, congratulations. You now have random knowledge you never asked for.
You're welcome.
Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Or don't, but just know if you don't, we're bringing back the squeaky toys.
Oh, it's coming back either way.
Until next time, same two guys, two questions, and absolutely no idea what we're doing.
Perfect.